Hi, my name is Dave Booth. I'm with Caliber Equipment. What I'd like to do is take just a couple of minutes and go through and talk about the Advance Condor industrial scrubber sweeper. Talk a little bit about the basic features of the machine, day-to-day operations, and maintenance, and some safety standards. One of the first things we always like to encourage, if it's the first time you've run the machine, it's important to ask your supervisor for the owner's manual. In the manual you'll be able to read about the different buttons, the features, operation of the machine, as well as the safety features. So again, if it's the first time you've operated the machine, please take the time to review the operator's manual. Prior to operating the machine on your shift, and you've reviewed the owner's manual, familiarize yourself with the operation of the machine, it's always recommended to walk around the machine to do an initial inspection to make sure that everything is in working order. If you look here at the front of the machine, you have a heavy steel bumper. We want to make sure that this hasn't been damaged for any reason. If we look underneath, you can see you have your dual front sweeping brooms. We want to make sure that the bristles are straight and there's no damage to those. This is your front drive wheel. Obviously we want to make sure there's no chunks or cracks in this wheel so that it can perform safely and efficiently the way it's designed. As we walk over to the side, if the machine has been plugged in, of course this is where you're going to reattach so that we have power and we can fill up our detergent into this separate container. We want to inspect the side curtains. Make sure that these have not been torn or damaged, because then the machine is not going to perform well. If it has been torn or worn, these bands can easily be reversed, so this new edge is moved to the bottom to give you the best cleaning performance. Want to inspect the rear of the machine. Same thing, make sure our rear squeegee rubber is in good condition, that has not been torn or damaged in any way, and if it is overly worn, we can then have it removed and reversed so the top is moved to the bottom. That'll give us a sharp edge on the floor and your drying performance will be maximized. Also, it's recommended to remove your vacuum hose. Make sure no debris has been trapped down inside. These are things that should be done at the end of the shift to make sure the machine is properly cleaned. Inspect this hose. Make sure there is no cuts or tears in it, because if it is, you're not going to have good water pickup. This is the drain hose. Make sure it is securely positioned on the back of the machine so it doesn't fall off. If we move to this side of the machine, again you have two rear tires. We want to inspect them to make sure they haven't been damaged or cracked or chips taken out of them. We have another side squeegee, same as the other side. We want to inspect the rubber, make sure that it's in good condition. And of course you have your side bumpers here, which are there to protect the deck in case you get too close to the walls. If any of these things are not in good working order, you shouldn't operate the machine. Please go to your supervisor, because it is obvious that the machine needs maintenance before it is safely operated. The Advance Condor is an industrial full-size scrubber sweeper. This particular model is powered by an industrial monoblock battery. It has a large cylindrical deck which does scrubbing and sweeping, and of course your squeegee in the back is going to pick up the water. One of the features that you'll see on this machine as we work our way around at the front of the machine is you have dual sweeping brooms. The purpose for those are so that you can get closer to your racking and areas where you can't get the scrub deck. It's going to move the debris in front of the machine. As we work our way around, you're going to see here, this is your part of the machine that's doing the work. This is the scrub deck. This particular model has a 48-inch scrub deck. It has two cylindrical brushes underneath, and in the back there's a debris tray. The benefits of this style machine is the small debris that you may have on your floors in your facility, pallet chips, metal shavings, nuts, bolts, small debris, it's going to pick it up, and which eliminates pre-sweeping. In order to access that, these side skirts, which are there to keep the solution under the machine while you're scrubbing and on turns, by simply loosening these two nuts, move it forward, it comes off of the machine. Now it gives you access for the debris tray, which simply slides out from underneath the machine So at the end of your shift, when you're done scrubbing, you're not only going to dump the dirty water, but you're going to want to remove the tray and empty the debris that has been collected inside into a trash receptacle. It's very important that each time you're finished running the machine, that we always dump and clean out the recovery tank, as well as remember to dump out the debris tray, because this will be accumulating the solid debris on your floor. When you're done, just simply slide it back in. Take your side skirt, set it on the post on top of the yellow stops, and then hand tighten the two nuts that'll hold it in place. And again, I say hand tighten, no tools are required. As the machine is putting down solution, which flows to the front of the machine, and the brushes are spinning, putting the debris into the tray, and you'll move forward, so the dirty water is going to be picked up in the back of the machine by the squeegee. This particular model has what we call an onboard AXP soap system. Mounted here on the side of the machine is where you'll put your cleaning detergent. This particular container can easily be removed off the machine, lift it out, so that you can fill it up with whatever type of detergent, degreaser that you're using. The nice thing about this feature is when you fill the machine, you're only going to be putting water in your solution tank, because the machine is going to automatically mix your detergent at the right ratio while you're scrubbing. Simply slide that back in, reattach your siphon tube, and then you close the compartment. While we have this open, I want to point out right here you have an emergency stop, and this is where you will charge the battery. Being that this is a battery powered machine, when it becomes necessary to recharge the machine at the end of the shift, or when you've drawn the battery down past half, the charging unit will be plugged into here, which in turn is plugged into a wall outlet. Caution is to be made when you're connecting these back on here that you do it straight so it doesn't get cracked, otherwise it will damage the unit. It's a tight fit, but it needs to be tight, and again, when you disconnect it, you're simply pushing that lever, which is your emergency stop, which kills the power to the machine. Take this in, and that'll plug into your charger, which has the same type of end. When you're ready to run the machine, simply push back up and close the compartment. As we work our way to the back of the machine, this is the recovery tank. This is where the dirty water, which is going to be picked up from the floor and pumped into this tank here. You've got a large lid that opens up, gives you access to get inside so that it can be easily cleaned out again at the end of your shift. In order to dump the dirty water first, you'll see on the back of the machine is a large hose that simply is removed off the machine. The cap is removed, and when you drop it to your floor drain, the dirty water is going to come out. Once you've drained the tank, then you can take your hose, go inside, and flush out any remaining debris and solution that's in it. When complete, simply take this and reattach it to the back of the machine, and then lower your top. Another feature this particular model has is an onboard spray and vac system. At times there's going to be areas that you cannot access with the machine, underneath racking, close to walls. With this option, you simply connect this to your vacuum hose and your water line to a fitting underneath, and then by removing these tools, you now have a large shop vac where you can spray and vacuum up areas that you can't access with the machine. When you're done, everything fits nice and neat back on the back of the machine for storage and for future use. On this side of the machine is where we have our solution tank. By opening up this compartment, this is where you fill your water. This machine holds 70 gallons of water, and in the back where we showed you the recovery tank, that's where the dirty water is going to be picked up, which also holds 70 gallons. So at the beginning of your shift, you're going to want to go ahead and fill this up with water. And as I said, this particular model has an onboard soap mixing system, so you only need to put water in the machine because your detergent is going to be put into a separate container. look down across here, you'll see the other side of the scrub deck. And as I said, you have two cylindrical brushes, the debris tray in the back, which can also be slid out from this side, and again doing the same thing as the other. By loosening up these two nuts, the side curtain can be removed and the tray pulled out for dumping, so you can access it on either side. Up underneath, you'll see this marking. It says filter. Part of the daily maintenance is to periodically check the filter underneath so that if any particles are in your water, it's going to filter it out so it does not impede the flow down to your deck. Well, let's take a couple minutes and talk about the operator's compartment. As you see, you have your operator seat, which has adjustable armrests. It is also adjustable. Comes with a safety for seat belt. Here is your steering column, which is also adjustable. So you can get it to a comfortable height for steering and maneuverability as well as safety. This is your gas pedal. By pushing it forward, you'll move the machine forward. Pushing with your heel will have the machine back up. Over on this side, that is your brake. That can be used either to stop the machine or by pressing it down and pulling this lever forward. That's your parking brake. To release the parking brake, simply put pressure on the brake pad, pull the lever back, which will in turn release the machine. When you want to keep it in park, push down, push the lever forward, and now you've got the parking brake set for safety. Here at the rear of the machine, we talked about this being the recovery tank, giving you easy access, a large opening so when you dump your dirty water you can get in there and keep it flushed out. After you've dumped the dirty water, a nice feature on this machine, by moving this lever, the entire recovery tank can be tipped back. This will two things: give you the ability to completely rinse out the recovery tank, make sure you get all the sediment and dirt out of it. It also, as you see, gives you access to your battery compartment. This particular model has a large monoblock industrial battery. It's important that this is checked on a regular basis for two reasons. Number one, to make sure that we're keeping the proper amount of water filled up into each of the cells. This will have to be checked on a regular schedule. The more you run the machine, the quicker the water is evaporated. So this has to be put on a maintenance schedule that it's checked regularly. And again, each one of these cells has to be checked. Secondly is your battery connections. You've got your plus and your minus. We want to make sure these stay tight in order for the battery and the charging system to work correctly and reduce any chance of damaging the unit. When you're done, obviously this can just be tipped back, which in turn locks in place. Part of routine maintenance is to periodically remove the scrub brushes, which one comes out this side, the other removes the other side. Is to inspect the brush, make sure nothing's wrapped around it, make sure your bristles are wearing properly. The broom can actually be rotated and turned over. That way you get maximum performance out of the brush. Also, it's important to take a hose and clean the housing underneath where the brush sits. Over time, this will build up with debris and dirt, and we want to flush that out. Make sure it's kept clean for the machine to perform properly, as well as cleaning off the idler door and make sure nothing is built up inside of here so this spins freely. All these things are part of the routine maintenance on this machine. Let's take a couple minutes now and talk about how to operate the Condor. First of all, this machine has a safety switch on the seat, so you must be seated in order for the machine to operate. When you're ready to start operating it, you have a key switch here which you turn, and you'll notice in about a couple of seconds the control panel lights up and you'll see these icons. Over here to the left, it'll give you the hour meter on the machine. Here to the right, that's your battery indicator. When you have all the bars filled up, that tells you have a full charge. As you operate the machine over time, the bars will go down. It's generally best to let it go down to 1 or 2 bars before charging it. That'll give you the maximum life of your battery. Down on the bottom, you have another box which will tell you how fast your solution is going to be flowing when you're in scrub mode. The other box next to this brush is going to tell you how hard of the down pressure this machine is going to be running at. Over here, we start with a button that shows a turtle and a rabbit. This button is really only used to override the way the machine is designed to run at certain speeds when you're scrubbing or traveling. So you generally will not need to use that button, but in the scrub mode, if you press the button, it would pick up speed. But generally you don't need to do that, because on all scrubbers you need to give the machine time to do the job properly. Down on the bottom you'll see a button here with two SS's on it. That's traction control. In the event that you're scrubbing up a ramp, that will automatically slow the machine down and give you better traction, which again, on level surface you generally will not need to use that button. The next one that has a vacuum wand, that is what turns on and off the recovery system in the back, and if you use the off-board vacuum wand you'd have to push that button. Down on the bottom you have a picture of a brush. This is what controls your front sweeping brooms. When you're in scrub mode they automatically turn on, but if you don't need to use them, by pushing that button will automatically turn the front scrub brushes off. Here in the middle you've got a red button and a green button. When you're not scrubbing, this is lit up, which tells you everything is turned off and you can drive the machine. When you're prepared to scrub, the green button, green for go, by simply pressing this button once, what it does, it puts all the functions in a standby mode. So right now this is lit up. We've got a light by our vacuum wand. We have a light by our side brushes. Over on this side you'll see a light by this chemical, which means we're going to be mixing chemical. And then you have a faucet. This is your water flow. If we go back to the middle blocks, you'll see there's one bar here in the water flow, one bar in the brush pressure. What that's telling you, you're at light down pressure and light water flow. By pressing it a second time, the light's moved over to the right, and we now have two bars. What the machine now has been told to do is push harder for more down pressure for heavy soiled areas, and it's going to increase the water flow. If we push it down a third time, we go to the third level, which is maximum down pressure, and we're up to 3 bars for additional water flow. When you're done scrubbing, by simply pressing the red button for stop, everything automatically turns off, and as you'll see, the boxes now are empty. So for simple operation, it's all one button. If you press the green button one time, it puts everything in standby, and when you touch the gas pedal, everything automatically turns on. So you're sweeping in the front, the brushes are turning, solution is flowing to the brushes with chemical, and then you're also drying the floor. When you're complete and you're done, by simply pressing the red button for stop, everything automatically turns off, and now you can go ahead and travel to your next area of cleaning. The buttons over here to the far left, when you're in scrub mode, this is your chemical mixing system that we talked about earlier. This button will light up when soap is being mixed in with your water. If you only want to rinse with water, by pressing the button, that will turn off the mixing system, and now you're only putting clean water to rinse your floor. The faucet, this button here, automatically lights up when you're in scrub mode, but should you decide you want to put additional water onto the floor without increasing the brush pressure, by simply holding this button down for a couple of seconds, you can now increase the water to maximum flow. The last button down on the bottom, this is burst of power. On this particular machine, you have the ability, when you're in your normal scrub mode, that if you come into an area that has heavy soil, grease, oil, that for a short period of time you need additional down pressure and water flow, by simply pressing this button, the machine for 1 minute will increase all your settings to the next heaviest position to give you more down pressure, more detergent, and more water for heavy scrubbing. And after 1 minute, it'll automatically turn off and the machine will revert back to your standard settings. Last button to the far left, obviously, is your horn for safety. When you're complete and you're done scrubbing and return the machine back to storage, as we talked before, you're going to want to dump and rinse out the recovery tank, pull the debris tray from under the machine, rinse that out, set your parking brake, turn the power off, and remove the key. Here in the rear of the machine is what we call the squeegee tool. This is what is drying the floor. It is very important that this is kept clean and that the rubber is in good working order. It is recommended at the end of the shift, not only are we going to drain the dirty water and rinse the tank, but by simply loosening these two nuts, we can easily take this off of the machine, remove the drain hose, which now gives you ability to rinse the squeegee tool off. You'll get more wear out of your rubber if this is taken off on a regular basis. We want to rinse this off to get any debris that may be building up inside and inspect the front and back blade to make sure they're in good working order. If we see excessive wear or tears on the squeegee, especially the rear blade, you simply, by loosening this band, can now take the blade and reverse it. So now the outer edge has been moved to the inside. A sharp edge on here is what dries your floor. The vacuum is strictly there to pick the water off the floor, but for the best and the driest floor, this edge needs to be sharp. If it's gotten worn or rounded, it's not going to clean well. When that happens, by loosening the band, flip the blade over, move this edge to the inside, you'll have a nice dry floor. When these two edges are worn out, you have two more edges on the top, so the whole rubber is flipped over. The key to a dry, clean floor on any automatic scrubber is the squeegee edge. And if it becomes worn or torn, you're not going to have a dry floor. The front blade needs to be inspected to make sure there's no large pieces missing, because if that's happened, it's not going to be able to pick up the water well. Same thing, this blade can be flipped over so we have a nice sharp edge all the way across. When putting the squeegee tool back on the machine, simply slide it on the slots, hand tighten them back on, and again I emphasize hand tighten. All the basic maintenance on this machine can be done without any tools. We want to have this on tight enough so that it properly stays on the machine during operation, but in the event that this would be caught on an obstacle, it should pull off the machine without damaging it. Once you've done that, then you can take your hose and replace it back onto the machine. There are some adjustments on here to make subtle changes to the squeegee, but for day-to-day operation you should not have to make any adjustments to that. That's something that is done on a routine maintenance basis when necessary. These are the only two knobs that you need to worry about in order to remove the tool for cleaning and putting it back on prior to operating.